If you're a man who cares about reaching his goals and building his ideal life, and you want your mind to be on your side as your greatest asset during this process, this video is for you. In today's video, I'm going to talk about the RDT Loop, the daily system to turn your mind into your biggest asset in 20 minutes a day. And this is specifically for analytical men who can solve complex problems but still get crushed by their overthinking or their inner critic. Now, I know there's so many resources online, so I want to take around 30 seconds to talk about why you should pay attention to the RDT Loop specifically and watch this video. This is not just a concept that I invented in my head. This is a system we've been testing for the past couple of years inside our data-driven actualization community. So a group of around 42 men have been testing this, and what we found, as you can see in the middle, is the average person increased their mood by 36%, and the average person increased their ability, their meditation sits by 53%. So they didn't just start feeling better, they also became better at focusing and sitting still, which led to wins in all areas of life, like someone getting a great offer from a company they interviewed with, or someone going on a first date with a wonderful, beautiful, growth-oriented woman, and people not just changing their numbers, but finding a higher quality of life and joy. So you can pause this and look at it if you're a bit more skeptical around why you should watch this video. But for people who are bought in, I'm going to get straight into the system so we don't waste any more time. First, I want to ask you if this resonates. If you're someone who can give other people advice on their problems and you know what to do intellectually, but you spiral when you're left to your own devices in terms of actually following through with the things, this will be for you. If you're someone who replays tiny comments in your head, maybe someone made an offhanded comment at a social gathering about something you said, and that gets you in this loop of, oh, am I an awkward person? Do I not know how to socialize? Then this will be for you. And if you find that the closer you get to what you want, the louder your inner critic gets, or overall you feel like your mind is not really on your side and it's something you fight against, you'll benefit a lot from watching this presentation. Now, let's talk a little bit about what it feels like when your mind is a liability. So it's this experience where maybe you've reached what your younger self would have called success, but your mind is still on edge, it's still on fight or flight mode, right? And sometimes quiet moments turn into rumination. I should have done more, I should have done better, I should be doing more. And a regular day in your life might involve this experience of waking up, getting your work done, and having a normal event that turns into a trigger, and you spend late nights in analysis paralysis mode. Maybe you find a new cool solution, then you do it for a couple of months, but you fall off because the novelty eventually fades, right? So it's this tricky experience where your life is not bad, it's pretty good, but there's mental patterns that are preventing you from getting to great. And this is exactly what we're going to tackle for the rest of this video. The core idea I want you to understand here is you don't need more discipline or willpower or more tools. You need a daily loop that upgrades your mental operating system. And as you can see, there's a picture of me on the left from July 2015 and a picture of me from February 2021. And within that time frame, I lost 65 pounds, I built an online business, I learned how to socialize and talk to people. And to do that, I had to exert so much willpower and discipline. There were so many days I did not want to talk to a stranger, but I would do it anyway. When I was losing weight, I went from eating 3-4 cookies after lunch in my high school breaks to just eating protein and vegetables for a few months. It was such a drastic shift that over a few months, when I ate an apple, I felt like I was eating a cheesecake because it had so much sugar compared to what I was accustomed to. And when I was building my online business, I started from being in a position where I was finishing off school of university at the start of COVID, living in a 2-person, 5-bedroom apartment, having to wake up at 5 a.m. to get some work done because that was the only time that the apartment was quiet and I could focus. So I know a lot about pushing, about using willpower and discipline and generating a transformation. And that served me well when I was starting out in my development journey. But eventually, I got stuck. I got to a point where I was making good money, I had good friends, I could socialize with people, but my mind still didn't find happiness. It didn't quiet down. I still had to deal with my inner critic. And that experience led me to learning so much about meditation, learning from a Buddhist teacher, learning about shadow work, psychotherapy, all these cool subjects. And eventually, I boiled it down to the RDT loop. And the RDT loop basically involves treating your inner world like a mental gym. It's one loop you run daily, so your mind gets calmer and more capable instead of burning out or checking out. That's a big problem a lot of high-performing men face. It's not like they quit on life right away because they're attached to that high-performer identity and they're used to performing that way, but they're tired, they feel burnt out, and at some point, pushing just gets exhausting. And the solution there is to not push more, it's to create more leverage in the actions that you're taking by optimizing your mind first, and then from there, building strategies that allow you to get more of what you want with less effort, right? So what does the RDT loop involve? The first step is regulate. Regulate is where we shift your state and calm your nervous system with a simple meditation protocol. Because whatever state you spend the most of your time in becomes a trait, right? So if I spend so much time in anxiety, I become an anxious person. But we can also have the reverse of that, where we create loops in our own state, where we spend time intentionally in states of joy, confidence, and that starts with building and having a foundational meditation practice. Second, the second step of the RDT loop is debug. Identify and rewire the 3 types of faulty mental patterns that stop you from your full potential. This is important because if we have beliefs that stop us at a certain level, we never go past that. It's like this invisible wall, right? So as we learn to debug our belief system, once we remove a belief, we can find something that used to be very difficult, now very easy. And lastly, the T is track and gamify. Log a few key actions and use principles from video games to make consistency effortless. Now, let's start with step number 1, right? Regulate. So this step takes 10 minutes a day. Obviously, you can do more of this, and I'll talk about that later in the video. But this is the starter 20 minutes a day, no excuses version. First, you set a timer for 10 minutes and you just close your eyes. The first 5 minutes, you bring up an image of someone or something you feel warm towards. It can be a human baby, it can be a baby animal, it can be a happy memory or a happy place. For example, I have a friend who really loves the Trigona Towers in Kuala Lumpur, Malaysia. So when he thinks about those, he really gets into a warm state, right? For me, thinking about a human baby, funny enough, a couple of weeks ago, I was taking a flight from San Francisco all the way to Turkey, and I sat next to someone with a baby, and the baby was 3 months old. And we were on a 12-hour flight, so I got to see the baby interact a lot. Obviously, there was some crying involved, but now I have a very strong visual of him, and I can imagine him as I get into my meditation. So the goal here with that visualization is just feel a little bit more warmth. It doesn't have to be you blasting with love. If we can increase that warmth by 1%, 2%, those are the small things we can compound on over time. Then we send this being, if this is a being, if this is a place, forget this part, may you be happy, may you be healthy, may you be at peace. And as we're wishing these things, we genuinely allow ourselves to feel those states to whatever extent we can, right? This is only going to get better with practice. Then the next 5 minutes, so you're 5 minutes in, and set one timer, just do a mental calculation of when you're halfway in. When a gentle feeling appears in your chest, again, doesn't have to be very strong, then send the same wishes to yourself. May I be happy. May I be healthy. May I be at peace. Now, if you get distracted, or when you get distracted, because this will happen, you recognize the distraction. In your mind, you say, never mind. You relax any tension or tightness in the mind. Imagine relaxing the inside of your skull. Then you put a gentle smile in your mind, in your eyes, on your lips, and in your heart, all 4 places at the same time. And then you come back to your object of meditation. The powerful thing about this process is you start taking distractions or anxiety and turning it into more relaxation and warmth. So you almost become a little bit of a magician around your own state. And this eventually helps you to experience more of states that you like, to regulate your nervous system instead of, having your nervous system just take over and you don't know what to do. Now, step number 2 is debug. Remember, step 1, regulate. Step 2, debug. Once you start seeing your mental patterns more clearly through meditation, you'll notice certain limiting beliefs or patterns keep coming up. We categorize these programs into 3 buckets. The first one is interjections. These are stories you took on from other people. The second one is projections. This is what you refuse to own in yourself. The third one is split ego states. These are parts of you that want different things or that believe different things and are experiencing a conflict. First, we start with interjections. These are beliefs you absorb from parents, teachers, culture. They probably served a purpose at some point, but now cost you confidence, peace, and connection. So an example of an interjection would be, I'm not good enough, or I have to keep everyone happy, right? Maybe as a kid, the belief I have to keep everyone happy prevented you from getting into trouble, but now it stops you from having honest conversations with people you care about. So we can we can spot them in our language when we recognize I have to do blah, 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 or when there's a feeling of feeling small or weak. It's like this interject almost has you in handcuffs and you can't really move, right? Obviously, that's not happening physically, but that's how it feels like mentally. So when you spot that, that's how you spot an interjection. Secondly, the second type of faulty mental pattern is projections. This is when you send out your own disturbances to the outside world, and you get mad at people, you get mad at life as a whole. So for example, you might judge people as being boring when you're afraid of being boring yourself. Or a funny example is you judge someone for being judgmental, so you're doing the exact same thing that you're unhappy with in their own behavior. We can spot projections by looking at what we feel angry towards, what we're irritated by, or what we judge. And again, right now, we're not getting much into how to resolve these. However, just the act of spotting and categorizing this can create an incredible change in your experience. Now, lastly, the third type for step number 2, debug, is split ego states. This is when parts of you want or believe different things. So for example, a part of you wants a deep committed relationship, while another part of you may want the freedom of being single. The way we spot split ego states is whenever you feel confused or you're pulled in different directions, or the way I like to think about it is when your mind has multiple tabs open at once, right? Most likely, there's a split ego state happening here. Now, the way we work with step number 2 is we simply recognize disturbances throughout the day and then we categorize them. And through the act of categorization, we allow ourselves to feel more at ease. And this is where step 3, the T, comes in, where we talk about tracking and gamifying, right? 5 to 10 minutes every single night. Log your sleep, meditation, mood, boldest move, and biggest win. What the data allows us to do here is it shows us wins that maybe we forgot about or patterns that our feelings do not reveal to us. So I remember one time I was talking to a client on a call and he said, I feel so stuck socially. I've been going out the past week and nothing seems to be landing. So what I did was I pulled out his Actualize OS dashboard, some of the things that you're seeing in these pictures, and we looked at what he was doing compared to the month before socially, and we realized actually he'd been on 2 dates that month and he'd met, I think, around 30% more people. So the data told a completely different story, but he was stuck in a feeling of feeling stuck. This is where tracking your growth can help, because when you have clear metrics in front of you, not just as numbers, but also your own experience through journaling, then you can use that as a way to get yourself closer to a reality rather than getting stuck in a thought loop or a feeling, a state that you don't actually enjoy, that doesn't help you move your life forward. Also, when you track things, eventually you build the belief, I show up regardless of how you feel. So that's the tracking part. You can take it up a notch by gamifying the whole process, by assigning points, competing with friends. And at DDA, you see those screenshots on the right. We built our own custom software, Actualize OS, to do this, to turn the act of tracking into something more fun, so that staying consistent almost becomes a side effect of enjoying the process. Now that we covered the loop, let's talk a little bit about what this loop changes in your life. And let's imagine a night in your life with and without the RDT loop. So without the RDT loop, you could be at the end of your day, maybe it's 11:30 p.m., you're about to go to bed, and your mind's replaying conversations. And maybe to avoid that, you're using social media, you're watching a YouTube video. Or throughout the day, you have this strange experience of knowing that you're working towards the life that you want, but you're getting bullied by your inner critic. Or maybe you sleep late and you wake up behind. Whereas with the RDT loop, you learn how to regulate your emotional state. So now you're in charge of the emotional state that you're in. Second, you learn to debug your belief system so you can turn triggers into opportunities to build a healthy belief system. And lastly, you get to track your progress with clear data. So you use data to check your emotions and beliefs against reality. You're becoming more intelligent about what stories you believe and what stories you don't, without lying to yourself. And I just want to show you, we talked a little bit about this at the start of this video, but I want to show you the potential of running this loop for a year, right? One example is Mr. J, a mechanical engineer, who raised his mood from 3 to 7.9 and reduced his negative habits by 96%. And obviously, because he was feeling better, he was able to tap into more vulnerability with his wife, and overall, there is a lot more gratitude in their relationship. We also had Mr. K, who's an ex-Big Four accountant, and the key thing for him was stopping using suffering as his growth strategy. And I always love to share one of the insights posts that he made, where he said, I was journaling last night, and somewhere along the way, I think I picked up the interject, again, doing the debug process. If I sit in the pain of the lesson more, I will learn more. And I think that's very common for high-performing people, right? But what he realized in this moment was, he said, this has probably caused me extra suffering. I don't need to do that. Once the lesson's learned, I can just move on. It's like putting my hand on a hot stove. I already learned that the stove is hot. I don't need to keep my hand there. I don't get extra points for keeping my hand there, right? What a great lesson. I always love the way Mr. K puts things into perspective with his analogies. Now, the reason this loop works is it's not very complex once you get the hang of it. It's the same 3 steps every single day, and the simplicity makes it easier for you to stick to, right? So many people try to look for complex things because they feel more intellectually exciting, but something exciting and complex doesn't always lead to progress. And just remember, the data is key to show yourself that you're staying consistent no matter what, and to also see the changes with your own eyes. So I always tell my clients, look, you don't need to believe what I say. You can also do the tracking and see if this makes a difference for you. And then if it doesn't, there are different tools we can work with where we adjust the process. Now, you watch this video, you learn the RDT loop to turn your mind into your biggest asset. What's next? If you want to run this for 7 days with simple prompts and a tracker, I built the 7-day data-driven calm protocol for you. It's 20 minutes a day for 7 days with the RDT loop we covered in this video. And at the end of that experience, you have your own mini dashboard to see if it works. Not just my opinion. If you want that, you can download it in the link in description, datadrivenactualization.com/playbook. Now, if you watch this video and you recognize, wow, this is really cool, and I actually want someone guiding me through this process, and you want to do it not just for 7 days, but for 30 days, you can book a call to talk about the 30-day U 2.0 Accelerator, where we help you run this loop with one-on-one coaching and community. We also use Actualize OS to keep you consistent and supported. And this is almost like, the way I think about it, it's like going on dates before committing to a relationship. So if you decide after this, you want to work together for a year, whatever you pay for the 30-day program rolls forward into the next program we do together. If you're interested in this, or you want a 30-day RDT loop built for you on a call, book a call from the link in description, calendly.com, data-driven actualization/U2. And you'll find that in the link in description as well. Thanks for watching this video. I hope this serves you as a resource to turn your mind into an asset and create a beautiful life where you not only are reaching your goals at a surface level, but you're also feeling more confident, more connected, more peaceful. I'll see you in the next one.